on the last video.
I'm a little upset that there is no Tifrith floor.
The adventure continues.
How's it going, everybody? This is Silent Deviant and his recording problems 24/7 with your host, me, because I have an above-average intelligence like that. So, when I was doing that video for Sword Art Online and the story analysis, I muted my microphone, and I forgot to unmute it today when I was playing this entire recording session, so there is no microphone audio. This kind of sucks, but at the same exact time, I'm going to try to just comment on individual parts as we go through. There's not going to be any live commentary for it, and I'm going to let things play out, and I'm just going to provide timestamps in case you guys need to skip through certain parts, or if you want to analyze what I did in that combat sequence. It's going to be long, drawn out, and boring, because the moments where I'm not doing anything was when I was talking during it, and I don't feel like going through every individual bit and then speeding up and slowing down and speeding up and then boosting audio and then lowering audio. That's literally, I will never be done with this editing process until like the middle of the week. So we're going to go through it. I'm going to comment on things after the cutscenes are done and tell you what I was thinking at the time, and we're just going to let it roll out that way, and then I'm just going to move over to that face picture that I always do whenever that I'm talking about things, and we're going to work with this the best way that I possibly can. And I'm going to try to remember the things that I was saying during the recording session as we press through it. And we're just going to have to go from there, guys. I apologize, but like I said, this shit happens. So, yeah. Alright, well, I guess we go to the first cutscene of Urban Plague, and we'll just go from there. But before that, really quickly, because I remember that I opened up this video by just saying something really quickly to you guys, which was that I just wanted to apologize if I came off to anybody in those vlogs before as, like, begging you to please watch my Sword Art Online video that I did and stuff. Like, just, that wasn't the intent. It's just, when you're a small content creator like me and you don't have a whole lot of shit, I just wanted to update you guys, tell you that that was a thing that I was doing, and that it would literally mean the world to me if you had just taken a look at it, at the bare minimum, just to see how things worked out. Because I know that there are many of you that do just watch a number of different things. You're not just here for the Library of Ruina, so I just wanted to highlight it and make it known. And like I said, I didn't want to come off as I was like begging you guys to fucking do whatever. Anyway, let's move on.
늘 새롭게 역겨운 맛이죠? 이렇게 더러운 맛이 다양한지 몰랐어요.
전혀 먹었던 해결사의 맛이 생각나요. 부드러웠어요. 행복했어요.
먹기 힘들었던 만큼 맛있었어요? 좋은 실이 나와 만족스러웠어요.
앞으로 일주일은 더 청소부만 먹어야 해요.
우리는 실을 짜내야 하니까요.
검지의 지령이니까요.
그 일주일 안에 청소부들의 어머니가 움직이면 어떻게 하죠?
사냥하죠. 그리고 식사를 해요. 선을 엮어야 하니까요.
알아요? 하지만 청소부가 우리를 노릴 경우 그에 대한 대비책이 있을지 궁금했어요. 그들이 제대로 먹고자 노리면 우리도 한계가 있을 테니까요.
청소부들이 지금은 잠잠해요. 이유는 모르겠지만요.
검지가 우리를 노려보고 있어요. 우리는 지령대로 원단을 만들어야만 하니까요.
검지에서 다른 지령은 없나요?
없었어요? 그래도 걱정하지 마세요. 검지는 좋은 친구니까요.
안녕하세요, 사육자 여러분.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
전령이네요. 안녕하세요.
네, 전 안녕해요. 새로운 지령을 전해드리려고 왔습니다.
도서관으로 가라고요?
다른 종이가 있어요? 지령은 아니에요.
도서관의 초대장입니다. 지령에 따르면 필요하다네요.
도서관을 가야 해요?
우리는 청소부를 먹고 원단을 짜야 해요.
전령님을 먹어도 돼요?
맛있을 거예요? 좋은 실이 나올 거예요.
안 돼요. 사육자 여러분은 지령을 따라야 하니까요. 당신들은 실을 계속 짜고 싶잖아요. 지령을 따르지 않으면 대행자들이 찾아올 거예요.
우리에게는 지령이 우선이에요?
순서를 어기면 지령이 가만히 있지 않을 거예요?
도서관에는 새로운 실을 짜낼 수 있는 재료들이 있을 것 같아요.
그럼 지령 전달도 끝났으니 저는 가볼게요. 말 안 해도 아시겠지만 어떤 지령이라도 수행되지 않으면 어떻게 되실지는 여러분이 잘 아실 거라 믿어요.
한창 바쁜 중에 미안하지만 원단 받으러 왔는데 말이지.
안녕하세요. 엄지사나 흑은회시네요.
흑은회 여러분 안녕하세요.
엄지에서 의뢰한 노브 원단 받아갈게요. 부수는 저 가방에 들어있답니다. 그나저나 곧 손가락 걸기를 시작할 텐데 검지치고는 너무 노골적이네요.
누님, 어쩔래?
전령이라 해도 검지의 직소? 우리로는 힘들 테죠. 하지만 전령이기 때문에 오히려 기회예요.
그렇죠. 저는 전달하는 사람이니까요.
검지는 여전하네요.
자, 그럼 합의를 봤으니 서로 갈 길 가죠. 사육제는 도서관으로, 우리는 원단을 챙기고 전령 씨는 가실 곳이 있겠죠?
저 조직은 천을 만드는 거야?
맞아. 질 좋은 원단은 굉장히 귀하거든. 조직과 해결사만큼 재단사들도 중요해. 저놈들은 음지에서 활동하나 봐. 사람을 먹고 실을 뽑아내는 것 같고.
어차피 천 조각이잖아?
네, 천 조각이라니. 아직도 한참을 모르시네. 이 도시 바닥에서 한가닥 하는 놈들이 그냥 몸을 들이미는 게 아니야. 너도 손님들을 봐서 알겠지만 입고 있는 옷은 평범한 옷이 아니라고. 질 좋은 원단은 강화 시술만큼이나 몸을 보호해줘. 아무리 돈이 많아도 급이 높은 원단은 살 수 없을 때가 있어. 공방이나 재단사들의 멤버십에 가입해야만 얻을 수 있는 것들이 있거든. 여러 가지 돈, 명예 같은 이해관계가 얽혀 있어서 돈만으로는 해결할 수 없는 것도 가끔 있어.
이제 나도 정신이 아득해지네.
뭐 그것보단 우리 잠시 눈을 감고 소원을 빌어보는 거 어때?
너도 내 정신을 아득하게 만들어.
지령이 도서관을 목표로 하지 않도록 빌어야 해.
그래, 눈을 감고 소원을 빌면 되는 거지.
진짜 하는 거야?
네가 하는 헛소리를 그만 들으려면 이래야 할 것 같아서.
아무튼 지령이 도서관을 노리면 어떻게 될지 몰라. 다섯 손가락 중 하나인 검지가 눈에 불을 켜고 미친 방법을 쓰며 끈덕지게 붙을 거야.
검지?
뒷골목을 주무르는 5개의 거대 조직 중 하나야. 뒷골목을 주무르니까 말 그대로 손가락들인 거지. 참 단순해. 아무튼 손가락들은 날개에 버금가는 힘과 영향력을 지녔으니까 괜히 밉보여서 좋을 것도 없어. 그리고 광신도 같은 검지는 지령이 아주 목을 매지. 그들에게 지령은
따라야만 하는 것이고?
맞아. 지령은 반드시 수행되어야만 하니까. 게다가 엄지사나 조직까지 끼어들다니. 일이 너무 커지지만 않으면 좋겠는걸.
누가 오든 착실히 접대할 뿐이야.
배고파요. 원해요?
새로운 씨를 뽑을 수 있어요. 기대돼요?
환영합니다, 손님.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 나가도 괜찮아요. 멋진 실이 나올 거예요.
푸른 빛의 예쁜 실일 거예요.
하지만 청소부보다 맛없을 것 같아요.
맞아요? 사람은 아닌 것 같아요.
이제는 맛있는 거 먹고 싶어요. 지겨워요.
저는 이곳의 관장이자 사서인 엔젤라이고 부디 당신의 책을 찾으시게.
인사가 이렇게 짧아요.
게다가 성의도 없어요?
사라졌어요.
Oh boy. So where do I even begin with this cutscene? Well, I'll be honest, I'm actually kind of glad that my commentary is being written over by this dialogue afterwards, because I got to look back over the cutscene and picked up a lot of things that I asked questions with during the Let's Play, but now that I'm looking at it in hindsight, it makes a hell of a lot more sense. So for starters, we're introduced to a number of different groups. There is, of course, the Carnival, which is what this branch is going to focus on when we wind up going into the fighting part in a minute. We have the Index, who the Carnival seems to be affiliated with to some extent. I think the Carnival is simply just being drafted to do things by the Index in here. You guys are better off checking the comment section to the things that I say here to make sure that it is valid and that I'm not being corrected by somebody who knows the story far more efficiently than me. So that's what I'm deriving from this, though, is that they are clearly working with the Index to be able to make fabric that they sell to other people, which is something that I never really thought about in the past with this game, but it makes a hell of a lot more sense now that I'm thinking about it, that clothes are just kind of very highly valued because they can be really about as efficient as any armor is, but, you know, finely made cloth, that is, so there's a value to it that Roland states can't even really have a price tag on necessarily because it's that fucking valuable, and money is everything in this world, so kind of interesting. And it's even more interesting to me that they started out in a sweeper den, which they never really tell you much about sweepers in general and how that works, so I guess they just consume sweepers and other human beings and stuff like that to be able to process that cloth for the Index, I believe is what was going on right there. And then, of course, there's this Karakumo clan that you wind up seeing, which is a subsidiary of the Thumb, one of the 5 fingers, and every one of the fingers is a syndicate, I believe, that have a very high amount of fucking influence and are quite powerful to what are rival to even the Wings, I believe, was at the ass end of that conversation. So we're dealing with some very powerful shit here, is what I'm saying. Kind of fucking scary, really. But yeah, it just a lot of stuff going on in this cutscene, and it's going to get even more extrapolated upon, if that's the proper word to use right there, in further into the branch, that is. So yeah, no, there's just a lot of good stuff here, but one of the main things I wanted to point out as well is Yan, that index messenger as well, was very interesting to me, and I really kind of hope that we fight Yan or somebody that is similar to his attire, because I want that fucking sword. That'd be like a really dope-looking page, would it not, to look like somebody like that? So I really hope that's something that we can get later on down the line, so that being said, let's just continue on, because I'll be fucking droning on about this forever. Let's move over to the actual combat segment here. So, for starters, one of the first things that I looked at was their combat pages and then their passives. I remembered very briefly that somebody told me to make sure to look at passives, and I am glad that I did for this fight. So the primary thing that I was thinking of, due to the way that they function, is that they gain 2 extra power for every downed ally, which means that I really was trying to kill them all at roughly the same time, so that there was less of an issue. The other thing that I thought of towards the end of the fight is, even if they had double the power upgrades, it's still 1 versus 3. So you essentially throw one person under the bus to take that damage from the attack rolls, and then the other 2 will have non-clashes. But that's basically the strategy of this fight that I saw. They will hit you with a certain attack of theirs that will throw a card into the person they clashed with's inventory, which is that, the something cloth, I forget what it is, but they basically generate cloth and give you a card in your inventory that's like a really strong defense card for the cost of 3, and that's really the only way that I was able to counter their 4-cost abilities that they have. Those combat cards are evil. But I'm just going to go ahead and let the combat roll out here. I think I'm actually going to speed it up just a little bit. That, or I'm going to trim the gaps of things, and we're just going to move straight to the actual clashes so that you guys can see how things are going. This is going to be a fucking pain in the ass to do, but I think that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to cut the clashes and all the empty space in between, since you can't hear me rambling to myself about what to do. However, that being said, I figured that I should also just kind of put a little bit of commentary over the combat while we are here, and it may just cut out randomly at a certain point, because I don't know how long it's going to be with the commentary versus how long the actual combat lasts, so hopefully I don't run into the problem of this being longer than the combat itself when I fucking speed it up and trim it. But anyway, my thought process, like I said, was to whittle everybody's health down and keep them as far from any one of them going down and going to 0 health as long as humanly possible. I wanted to let Auntie and Soldier take the floor with the medium player for this one, because fuck it, I just want to kind of use you guys as characters and have fun with it. Yesod Floor winds up being the next thing that we'll wind up seeing in this session as well, so you get to see some other characters in there. But, like I said, that was the plan, was to keep all of their health values at, not dying, and then go on an all-offensive towards the end. Of course, that can be very difficult depending on the stuff that they throw at you, though, but, really, I just tried to play as defensive as humanly possible, and remember that we have Auntie and Soldier using Mika's page, so there's a high amount of sustain from discarding pages to be able to heal yourself. We got Olga's page, or that's not Olga's page, that's somebody else's, I think Young Mi's, I could be wrong though, but just the point of the matter is I was trying to stay as defensive as humanly possible and keep everybody, like, well-to-do on health and just not dying, and try to outlast them, rather than be very aggressive about things, and that's kind of the best thing that Netzach's floor is good for anyway, so it was just a good synergy that way, and it kind of went pretty well, to be honest with you. I didn't really have too big of an issue with this floor, and it worked out surprisingly really well for me, so yeah, that's all that I have for the combat part right here, so let me go ahead and look at the next part, and then put in some finishing touches on this Audacity clip, I suppose.
힘들었어요? 지쳤어요? 쉬고 싶어요? 배고파요? 나가고 싶어요?
잘리고 싶어요? 뼈가 녹아요. 살이 터져요? 죽지는 않아요.
Now, it might have been a very weird cut that I did right there to just move straight over into the cutscene, but I figured that I should do that and then cut off into another area to go ahead and talk about that for a minute. That dialogue cracked me up so hard. I wish you guys could have seen my genuine, regular, like, first-time reaction to that. That was so fucking hilarious to me. It shows you a little bit about how Roland's character is just as a whole, and kind of just doesn't take things too seriously as a whole anyway. But what was even funnier to me is how Angela plays along with it further with her usual straight man demeanor to it to kick his ass in line. It was just a wonderful interaction right there, and I fucking adored that. So let's go ahead and just watch the rest of this cutscene unfold, and then we'll wrap up, shall we?
예, 죄송합니다. 그만하겠습니다.
그래서 이 다음은 어떨 것 같아?
흐름을 보아하니 손가락 중 하나하고는 무조건 부딪힐 것 같아. 지금까지 언급된 게 벌써 엄지, 검지인데 솔직히 어떤 손가락이든 간에 골치 아플 거야.
기대되는걸?
예, 현장에서 피투하며 구르는 건 저니까요.
새삼스럽지만 고마움은 느끼고 있어.
네네, 더 열심히 힘내보도록 합시다.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. So that about wraps up the episode for the most part. I'm just going to let things roll in the background. Not much really to go over here. I just burned through the books that I got from that. Got a couple of Carnival pages, burned them all into one, and I'm probably never going to touch that Carnival page ever again, unless I have it for a very specific reason, for a specific build or something where I need that extra power for when characters go down. But aside from that, that's really all that we have to do here, guys. That's it. That's the whole entire thing right here. So, Yeah, so see me in the next part, and I guess I'm going to have to continue to do the same thing that I'm doing right here for the cutscene. I don't know how the layout is going to wind up being in the next one, but we're just going to have to go from there, and I'm going to have to just keep editing and cutting the blank space of where I would have been talking with things in the cutscenes so that you guys can just hear the original VA and then boost the volume of those cutscenes. So I will see you then, and take it easy.